Hello and welcome back. My name is Romney and thank you very much for joining me in these series of videos about how to publish a children's book. Going all the way back to lesson 1, I introduced my storybook called Archie the Bear. Then in video number 2, what I did is talked about niche research. In video number 3, we covered keywords and the importance of finding the right keywords for your title, subtitle, 7 backend keywords, and Amazon advertising. And in this video, we're going to be covering the storyline. So some key factors you need to consider when you are creating your storyline for your book. Now, this is all on the back of my best-selling course on Udemy on how to write, create and publish a children's storybook. So if that's of interest to you, just make sure you check out the links below and that will take you directly to that course. Now, creating a children's book is, as I've mentioned in other videos, just great fun. And part of that process is creating the storyline. And it does obviously play a critical part. You need to get the storyline right. But there are some things that you do need to understand when you're going through that process. So let me provide an overview of those right now. So the first thing you need to consider is your customer. And we're looking at the age, the gender, and the interests of your specific avatar, your customer that's going to be reading the book. Now, is it going to be a parent that is reading the book to the child? So the book might be for 1 or 2 year olds, or is the child old enough to read the book? So you need to think about the age appropriateness of the way that you're writing. Is it a learn to read kind of book? Are there rhyming elements which might be difficult for the child to pick up and get the right story and pattern as the parent is reading the book? So you need to think carefully about those dynamics. And also the gender of the child and maybe what their key interests are. And is it to do with different experiences? Is it a book about real life experiences, or is it fiction? You just need to determine those key factors for the first part of getting your story together. Now let's look at number 2. So number 2 are your characters. So you need to define the characters within your book. So for me, Archie the Bear is the main character of the book. Now at times there might be Baby Bear that joins, and Mama Bear and Daddy Bear that might be joining in on my Archie the Bear books. But the main character is Archie. You might have 1 or 2 different characters as part of your book, and there might be a series of characters that come through. And that will help you to create your storyline around that particular character. So that's number 2. Number 3 is the plot. What are you writing about? Is it going to include humor? Is it going to be quite serious? Is there going to be a storyline that comes out with a hero in the end? What is your story about? Is it going to be something that's cheerful? Is it something that starts off sad but has a happy ending? You need to think through the plot from start to finish, and that will help you to create the characters, create the storyline as you're moving through that process. The next step is to think about the message of that story. What at the end of the book do you want the child to feel? Do you want them to learn something? Do you want them to have experienced something that maybe is new to them? Is there something that they're anxious about? It might be starting school or starting kindergarten. It might be their first trip on an aeroplane. It might be their first time to the beach. It might be their first time swimming. You need to think through those elements about what that story is about and what the end point's going to be for you. And does that lead on to the next series of books that you're creating? And finally, we're looking at the format. Now, my books are rhyming storylines. I find that for me, it captures the essence of the story when I have a rhyming format. I personally like to write that way. And I generally keep my books to about 30 to 35 pages in length. But you might have a different way of writing your story. You might have a natural gift of writing in a particular way, and you need to think through how long's the story going to be. Again, it's about character development and what that looks like for your storyline. So that is the final point with bringing it all together. So let's look at those key points again. Number 1, who is your customer? Age, gender, and their interests. Number 2, the characters that you want to form part of your story. What is the plot? Are they going to have new experiences? Are they going to be things that they see and go and do? What is the message of the story, and what do you want that child to feel at the end of that book? Even the parent, how do you help them guide that child through that story? And finally, the format. And is it going to be writing? Is the writing style rhyming? How many chapters are you going to have? Is it a short or a long form book? And is it a fiction or non-fiction book? So there are some key elements that I want you to consider when you're writing your storyline for your children's book. Now, I do cover this more in depth with my course. However, I think this is a great starting point for you to work through these points to begin your story so you can create your own children's book. So I really hope that these tips have helped you to get started, and I look forward to providing the next video as part of this series, and we actually talk about the process of actually launching your book, which is an exciting component once you've done all the hard work and getting it going. So I look forward to sharing more of my insights as part of this book series, and until the next video comes out, I'll see you then.